Good morning to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here. Hurricane Outlook and discussion time. It is 11:07 a.m. Eastern time, and obviously Hurricane Dorian is the big headline. This is also the anniversary of Hurricane Fran, and that was, 23 years ago today, September 5th, 1996. And we have another one, Dorian, coming in on that anniversary. So this time of year, peak time of hurricane season, shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, but it doesn't make it any easier. I don't say that to make it sound like, oh, well, easy for you to say, buddy, but it is. It's peak time of hurricane season, and we have to expect that these systems will bother us, and sometimes they can cause substantial damage and loss of life if you don't use common sense. So let's take a look at the latest. And to my point, the tropics are very busy. We have Dorian along the North and South Carolina coasts, several areas to monitor in the Atlantic, and then Tropical Storm Gabrielle way out in the eastern Atlantic, no threat from it. So let's focus on the latest from Dorian. The public advisory here from the 11 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center. Their headline, the eye wall of Dorian just offshore of the eastern coast of South Carolina. It is now moving north-northeast, or about 20 degrees on a compass, at 8 miles per hour. The wind has come down to 110 miles per hour, so it's no longer classified as a Category 3 hurricane, but that doesn't mean that it is weaker. And I know you might think, well, yes it does, Mark. Well, allow me to explain in just a moment. The intensity of it, the pressure has come up just a little bit, and the wind has come down a little bit. So wind-wise, it's not quite as potent, but it doesn't mean that it is weaker. All right? So what I mean by that is all of these hazards affecting land that I'm going to outline here remain the same. All right? So it may have weakened from a perspective of pressure and wind, but everything else is the same. So you're still going to have that head-on collision with the large SUV coming into your lane, but instead of it happening at 70 miles per hour, you're both speeding, going along at 70, which is combined 140, and there's probably other physics involved. You get in a head-on collision that is 65 miles per hour. Come on. All right, so please think of it in that context. I know we like to hear good news when something's negative like this, but I don't want to have the focus, it's just a Category 2. Whew, we're saved. Wrong. And the wind I'm not too worried about overall. It will, because the wind does not kill that many people. And we're trying to save lives first. Property damage can be mitigated, hopefully, and you take care of that later. I know it's very stressful, and it leaves a lasting legacy of problems, but if you're not around to repair your property, what difference does it make? So the wind I'm not as concerned about. It's going to knock down trees, cause power outages, and there will be some structural damage. This is what I am most concerned about. Storm surge, 5 to 8 feet from Awendaw, South Carolina to Myrtle Beach to Duck, North Carolina, including Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds, and the Neuse and Pamlico Rivers, 4 to 7 feet. And that is above ground, all right? Above ground. 5 to 8, 4 to 7, parts of the Hampton Roads area, 2 to 4, and then down in parts of South Carolina, still possibly 2 to 4, but with the center, the core passing the latitude of Charleston and eventually Murrells Inlet, etc., those areas will see less of a risk of storm surge. But the North Carolina Outer Banks and along these sounds and Neuse and Pamlico River basins where they empty into the Pamlico Sound and the Albemarle Sound, this is what I am most concerned with through here. This is a close second. All right, 6 to 12 inches of rain, isolated 15, and we have had tornadoes, and that threat will continue throughout the day. So don't lose focus. It is good to hear that the head-on collision is going to be reduced by 5 miles per hour. Yay. This is what's coming at you, a large, dangerous hurricane. not the most well-defined, but don't compare them to other hurricanes. You know, people don't like that in relationships, comparing whoever you're with now to somebody in the past. And forgive my levity, but I'm trying to put this into context that you understand. Don't compare this to Fran or Bonnie. All right? We don't do that in relationships. Don't do that with hurricanes. Dorian is Dorian. And so far in our relationship with Dorian, going back 8, 9, 10 days now, it's been an overachiever. Right? Yes, it has. So I expect that it will leave its biggest impact along the coast of North and South Carolina, probably from Murrells Inlet, Myrtle Beach area on north would be my best guess. And in that area, more than likely, it's going to be down east North Carolina, maybe to the Cape Fear region. The Outer Banks would see the worst of this overall. We'll just have to wait and see how it pans out. That is a large eye for sure. So even if the center crosses just offshore, the center of the eye, which is right there, you know, parts of Wilmington and Hanover County are going to be in the eye, the calm of the eye. So let's look at the track map from the Hurricane Center real quick and see what the odds are of that happening. And I can show you, I like this because I can show you the 5-day and the 3-day. So they have it skirting along just offshore Cape Fear, maybe crossing over Cape Lookout on its way out over Rodanthe, maybe Ocracoke, Hatteras Village, that area. That's the center of the eye. But that large eye, you know, you're going to take this whole thing. In fact, let's stop it right there. You're going to take that large eye right there and translate that up the coast. There's a lot of people that could experience part of the calm of the eye. So that'll be interesting. And I'm contemplating maybe we launch our weather balloon into that and see if we get it back. Probably not. Probably goes into the ocean. I'll talk about that later in my evening update. But that's what it looks like. That's what's coming. The tornado threat, that's going to be over here in this right front quadrant area, typically, in these bands out ahead of the main flow. There's dry air up here, this trough interaction. That's the recipe for tornadoes. And those can be short-lived, but lethal. And, you know, obviously cause property damage. There's no way to know where they might set up for sure. This is a radar shot, a nice, beautiful mosaic. And again, it's these outer bands over here that could produce those tornadoes. And you'll notice them if you use an app like RadarScope, that as they approach, they have this sort of kidney bean look to them. In fact, there's a tornado warning right here near Leland, North Carolina, as I record this. But embedded in these lines here, you get these sort of curly-Q looking shapes. If you have RadarScope or another high-resolution radar program on your device, that's what they look like. And these will rotate through pretty quickly as on shore from southeast to northwest as the whole mess moves off generally in the northeasterly direction over time. Also in this radar reflectivity, you see heavy rainfall. And Dorian is moving fairly slow. So our inland areas, I-95 corridor, 74, 76 west and east, Highway 17 north, you know, the coastal highway that runs all the way up through here, etc. Be mindful of all this heavy rain if you have to travel. And that will cause flooding, a quick rise on streams, creeks, and rivers. Fortunately, and here's news that I can share that's very good and should be celebrated, this will not stick around and cause another Florence-type flood event. All right? So that's the look at the track and the radar. What about possibility for holding on or additional intensification? I think there's enough dry air involved and other factors that should limit intensification, but it may hold its own. Anywhere from 90 to 100 mile per hour hurricane, which is a large, damaging hurricane. Make no mistake about that. Water temperatures just offshore up to the shelf area, 27, 28, 29 Celsius, depending on where the core travels. That's warm enough. The upper ocean heat content is not quite as robust, right up in here where Dorian will be tracking, meaning that the warm water doesn't extend down very deep, like we saw as this went through the Bahamas as an example. But there is plenty of warm water. It's not going to weaken to a tropical storm or anything like that where it just peters out. So be ready. In North Carolina especially, today conditions will gradually deteriorate and become much more dangerous over time. Power lines falling, trees falling. You got to just hunker down. Please use your common sense and the experience that we've had from other hurricanes to get you through this. I need you here. I need you here to be able to watch future updates. All right? I care about you. All right, so the bigger picture, and, I want to educate you at the same time. There's Dorian embedded in the larger flow, the larger scheme of things. Other systems to monitor out here east of the islands. More energy trying to gather off Africa. There's Gabrielle. We're still in a fairly negative setup for development, but that's going to change as we get towards the middle part of the month for about 4 to 6 weeks, it looks like. And so I see a period where the Atlantic is going to have a lot of activity here, possibly close to land. And I'm just reminding you, don't shoot the messenger here. It's coming. This is just the start, I do believe. Where items of interest end up, I don't know. That's all about the steering patterns, and we can't predict that. But the overall large-scale patterns are there for a fairly significant uptick in activity as we progress through the month. At weather.gov, just as an example, you go to weather.gov if you want information that is very helpful to you and your area. Specifically, first of all, you get this watch warning map, and you can click on it, like I'm clicking in eastern North Carolina, and it gives you all this color code of what's what in the legend. And this is what I really want you to read, that hurricane local statement. And you can also find that by putting in your zip code, and I'll put in mine as 28405 in Wilmington, North Carolina. Not that one, it's up here, sorry. Put it in up at the top left, Wilmington, North Carolina as an example. And all of this stuff right here in red, that's what I want you to read the most. Hurricane local statement. It'll also tell you about the rest of the hazards. Anything in red under hazardous weather conditions, read it. But Mark's tip of the day, the most important one, is that one right there, the hurricane local statement. It has a lot of very helpful information written for your area. New information, it tells you when it was updated. It's like a drilling down deeper into the discussion for your particular location. So it's a lot to read, but it's in there, and it'll help you understand what's happening. All right, so real quick, how do I do all this? Where does the stuff we're setting up go? I don't just do these blogs and that's it. I'm out on the field. I think most of you know that by now. We've been doing this for 20 years online, and our field operation. HurricaneTrack.com is the portal. That's the brand, that's where everything starts. And I used to post blogs here and videos here, etc., but then as social media came along, it became more work to do everything in multiple locations. And so I thought, well, we need to fund what we're doing, but we also need to be able to keep people informed. And so the short story is I have combined what we are doing with the HurricaneTrack brand and my reputation going back 20 years and those who helped me with Patreon. And Patreon is like this crowdfunding site, but it's more than that. It's not just, oh, give me money and I appreciate it. It is a way for me to post information, most of it available to the public. And I can do it all through an app, on the go, wherever I am, very much like you're used to seeing with Twitter, Facebook, and WordPress, blogging. But I can do it all in one spot where I can contribute to those who are supporting what I'm doing as patrons. You think about patrons of the arts. Well, you're helping to support a creator in this case. That's what Patreon was set up for. YouTubers, animators, bloggers, podcasters, weather people. Levi Cowan's on here. The weather.nerds.org site is on Patreon. It is a way to support the people who you believe and trust in. But it's not a requirement for most of my information. Now, that being said, yes, we have to fund this, and so, that being said, this does help fund what we do. And we have this subscription site set up, HurricaneTrack Insider, and that is where we post the cameras and other amazing technology. This is what that looks like. All right, so we have our own little blog that I do there. Our Twitter feed is embedded right on the home page, and we have our own exclusive chat. Here are our current members. I'm just giving you a look at it in case you're curious. We have links that go over here, and then this is where the videos go. And this is really, really cool. We have our own digital dashboard, and that's where they all populate in one spot. And so you can go in, and as an example, we can look at Charleston, South Carolina. It can go full screen, and you'd be like, wow, okay, cool. You exit full screen, turn the sound on or off. Here's Murrells Inlet, or I'm sorry, Carolina Beach, North Carolina, where we've got a camera. All right, sound. This is my vehicle camera underneath the house in Rodanthe, North Carolina. You know, this is what we got. This is what this pays for. Patreon supports this. This is not cheap to do, folks. Trust me. So that's how we do it. We also have an app, and it seems to be working today. It's been having some issues throughout the summer with some aspects of it not working. If you have the app, you already know what it is. I am not going to promote it because it's not completely up to par, and I'm not going to promote something that doesn't work very well. But if you do have our app, check the video tabs, the video part where it says live video, and all these cameras are there as well in the iOS version and in the Android version. Again, I'm not going to promote what it's called. I'm sorry, because I am not going to promote something that's not working the way I think it should. So, Patreon at the $10 level and up, you have access to all of this. That's how we do it. But even at $1, we have these tiers, and at $1, you become a supporter, and you can have access to everything that we're doing on Patreon. And you see these tiers over here, $1. It's, you know, everybody gets access to what we're doing first, and then at the $10 level, you have the HurricaneTrack Insider, and that includes all of these cameras here. All right, so that's how we pay for what we're doing. In a large sense, we do work with the Weather Channel, licensing video. You'll see these videos on these live cameras on the Weather Channel, and yes, they do pay me for that. I work with them. Proud of that. They're awesome to work with, actually. But you don't know what's going to happen year to year. That's just the nature of the business. Patreon is a way to do something that's sustaining. I wanted to talk about it. People have been urging me to talk about it. I hate talking about funding because people don't want to hear about it. You know, like when you go to church services and they talk about raising money, you're like, oh, same thing. But you got to, or life stops as we know it, because money is what the world revolves around, unfortunately. That being said, I appreciate all of the support that we have received. The folks here on our chat are ecstatic about it. Believe me, they're very happy with what we're doing, and I appreciate it from my end. All of us do, because it's contributing to the science. We're doing something that nobody else in the world is doing, and I'm proud of that. So I am in Rodanthe, North Carolina. I'm going to set up a couple of cameras out here on the Outer Banks and an additional weather station here, and then figure out what to do next. Am I going to go up to Kitty Hawk? I don't think it's wise to stay down here where I am, probably flood the truck. I've got my Chevy Tahoe. It's a different one than the one we've had all these years with all the weather equipment on it. That's been retired, but it's another Chevy Tahoe that one of our partners bought for us actually a couple years ago. So I probably will leave Rodanthe and go up to Kitty Hawk later today. I will post another video update this evening. Follow along at HurricaneTrack on Twitter. Join up on Patreon, like I said, it's just $1, and I'll be posting pretty much constantly there. All right? And I think that's about it. Have a good rest of your Thursday. I had to remember what day it is. As always, thanks for tuning in from whatever device you happen to be doing so from. It's great to have you on the other side. Good luck out there. Use common sense. I shall do the same. I am Mark Sept, HurricaneTrack.com. I'll have more for you tonight.